So lately, I've been scrolling a lot. We all know the downsides of doomscrolling on our attention span, and it's especially bad for being creative. When you're constantly consuming content, it can really make you question your own creative instincts. You start wondering, what else can I possibly make that hasn't been done before already? Luckily, I recently stumbled upon this legendary Oscar-winning speech by Bong Joon, and what he said about creativity really struck me.
When I was young and studying cinema, there was a saying that I carved deep into my heart, which is the most personal is the most creative.
That quote was from our great Martin Scorsese. So.
I just love how the audience erupted into awe. It's such an iconic moment because two legendary filmmakers are acknowledging each other. But I was also thinking about how deeply that message must have resonated with everyone in the audience who works in the creative industry. You know, I actually first heard that speech in 2020, and my reaction was, that's amazing, but I don't know if it would apply to me. I've always thought that I was someone who always follows the rules and expectations, and being creative was something that I was the furthest from. But as I start making YouTube videos and thinking more about what to create, that quote really starts to ring true. The most personal really is the most creative. Okay, stay with me here. I really hope that this transition makes sense. If I ask you what's 2 plus 3, you would answer 5 immediately, right? But if I ask what's an idea that you have always wanted to act on but haven't yet, you might hesitate or second guess yourself. I think that's because we used to think of creativity as something full of open-ended questions, ones that we don't fully trust that our answers are good enough to share, unlike straightforward, close-ended questions like a math problem. And I feel like when we face with so many directions to take, we tend to look at what other people are doing to get a sense of what kinds of topics that we want to create. Before posting my first YouTube video, I would watch a lot of videos on how to create a channel from scratch, and I came across a very common advice, which is to consume like a critic. It basically means to pull up the videos that you want to make and then analyze to see what other creators are doing well to keep the viewers engaged and to think about what's possibly contributing to their success. I feel like that advice can be helpful in some situations, but if you're like me and tend to overthink, I would highly suggest to proceed with caution. Because here's something that I have realized. When I watch too many videos, I tend to start fixating in the small details, and I tend to get stuck in this cycle of getting inspired by others but never feel brave enough to create what I wanted. I would get stuck on thinking about like, oh my god, that font looks so good in that video, should I use it too? That's such nice background music, what music license did I use? And before I know it, the more that I consume mindlessly like this, the more I feel further away from my creative voice. And I don't say this from a place of judgment or blaming myself, because I think that the internet is competitive and we all want to put out our best work. But if we spend too much time studying what other people are doing, we'll risk losing sight of what we want to create. At the end of the day, creativity is all about expressing ourselves. Whether it's through personal stories, opinions, interests or style, we all want that what we put out will resonate with someone else. And for me, even after hours of looking into other people's content and hours of doom scrolling, while I don't remember much about everything that I have watched, the posts that linger the most with me are ones that made me feel something. And they tend to be the ones that have something personal or unique about the person. So why would you doubt that your personal story isn't worth listening to? You know, weirdly enough, my best ideas don't come when I'm actively searching for them, but instead, They show up when I least expect them. When I'm in the shower, when I'm out on a walk, or just like wandering around the city. And a pattern I notice is that my best ideas emerge when I'm not reaching for my phone, when I'm not filling every empty space with stimulation, but rather just let my thoughts simmer. And turns out there's actually a science behind this. I used to work in memory research, and there's this phenomenon that is super fascinating. It's called wakeful rest and memory consolidation. It just basically means that your brain needs moments of quietness to process everything that it has just learned to form new ideas. Just imagine that your brain is like a pot of soup. If you constantly throw in new ingredients, more information, more content, more distractions, without giving it the time to simmer, all that we'll get is just this overflown mess. But when you let it sit for a little bit and just turn down the heat and just let the soup simmer, that's when all the flavors would come together, and that's where good ideas start to form. I've also realized that in those quieter moments, when I let my own pot of soup simmer, my mind tends to drift into the same topics that feel deeply personal and meaningful to me. Sometimes it's something lighthearted like favorite cafes to work at in Toronto or easy Vietnamese recipes. Other times it's bigger questions that have been on my mind for a long time, like what does home mean? And I think about that a lot because I have lived abroad for a while now. And that question actually became the theme of my recent vlog to Vietnam. That's when I realized that creativity feels the most alive when it's personal. That the things that I reflect on the most, like where do I belong, what do I want to do with my life, what's a good enough job, those topics, those ideas are often what inspire me the most to create. I think that when we tell our stories truthfully, they have a way of reaching other people in ways that we don't always expect. When I put these videos out, I also don't try to be universally relatable because, that would be impossible. But instead, I try my best to tell my stories as honestly as I can, in hope that sharing my own learnings from the messy process of figuring out our 20s, figuring out how to cultivate my creativity along my 9 to 5, you would also feel encouraged to navigate your own journey. One of the more niche or personal things that I have been wanting to share more is actually cooking. So I love cooking and have filmed these footages for a while now, so in the next couple minutes, please enjoy some homemade cooking. I always get a little bit shy to share because my kitchen is not exactly the most minimalistic, far from it actually, but it has all of my favorite sauces and ingredients. So, welcome to my kitchen as I cook you one of my favorite cozy Vietnamese dish, miến gà. It's a boiling, cozy soup of chicken and glass vermicelli noodles. So for this miến gà, I don't have the exact measurements, but it's rotisserie chicken, chicken broth, glass vermicelli noodles, salt, and veggies. I'm having lettuce and Brussels sprouts today, which is jail because Vietnamese dishes almost never have Brussels sprouts. Usually the dish would have bamboo shoots, but I'm just making a shortcut version today with all the ingredients that I have in my fridge. There's a term that I learned recently, which is scruffy hospitality. It basically means that when you go into someone's house and you see like the imperfect parts of their personal lives, like a kitchen with bits of breadcrumbs under the fridge, or seeing some unfolded laundry, that actually invites more warmth and connection than a perfectly clean place because it lets us drop the need to impress each other. I feel like this scruffy approach can also apply to being creative. It's better to start with what you already have in your pantry rather than going out to get all the perfect ingredients but never starting the project that you wanted. If you have been looking for a chill show to watch while eating, I highly recommend Offline Love on Netflix. It's a dating show, but it's not like any of the ones that I have watched before. So the concept is pretty simple. Singles meet in Nice, France, and they're not allowed to use their phones. The only way that they can communicate is through handwritten letters. Watching them slowly getting to know each other, developing a crush, and even experiencing heartbreak without the usual distractions of technology was such a breath of fresh air. What I really love about the show is that it feels like the producers took a bet on a slower, more intentional pacing, which really contrasts with the fast, attention-grabbing edits that I have watched in other shows, and I feel like this slower approach works because it really highlights that nostalgic, calming aspect of love. As you can see, this is the part where we have to trust the process, where we put all of the ingredients in. I think I'm gonna do a miso butter sauce. That would be miso, butter, soy sauce, a little bit of sugar. Time for a taste test. So I have some steamed broccoli on the side with pasta, mushroom, chicken breast, miso sauce. Also, I don't recommend shell pasta for this because the chicken just ends up hiding inside the shell. I didn't end up using too much soy sauce because miso is already pretty salty on its own. I love miso butter. So simple, but so delicious. I always like things a little bit spicy, so I'm gonna add some Tabasco to this. Honestly, some pepper, like this black pepper, is also good, but Tabasco adds a good kick to this. I love that it has some vinegar as well, so it brings out some sour taste to this dish.
Several days later.
I'm going to a cafe to edit my Vietnam vlog, and I think it will really make me miss the coffee scene in Vietnam, so I'm just trying to recreate some of it here. Let's get started to retouch the makeup. This is a brand in Vietnam. It's called Ophelia, and it's in the color Polaroid. Some pink lip liner, and we cannot forget some lip gloss. This is also Romand in 8 Cherry Up. So this is the finished look. Don't mind my clothes steamer in the back, but I think the pink blush is pretty cute. Also, I'm glad that the weather has been warming up slightly, and that makes me happy because I get to wear a proper coat instead of putting on my super puff all the time. So even though I'm just going to a coffee shop at like 7 p.m. I still want to dress up and look nice. I kind of look like I'm going to an interview. It's okay. That's just my personal style, I guess. The thing I want to talk about while packing my bag is making long form content actually takes so much time and so much energy, especially if you overthink a lot like me. So I think now I just want to get back to this muscle memory of picking up a camera and just recording and filming things for fun, because I think I overthink so much about like the strategy, how much to post, and then how to balance it with my 9 to 5, that it was something that I was stressed over. Yeah, so I'm just trying to make it fun again for myself. Something inevitable about a creative process is that your insecurities will surface, and the key is to push through that overthinking phase. For me, I always cringe when I hear my own voice when editing, and I think I'm not alone because most of us are not used to hearing or watching ourselves back. But I have started to ask myself, why should I cringe at a version of me that has done the hard work? Yes, it's my voice, my face on the screen, but it's also the version of me that has spent days writing a script, the version of me that experienced something that I wanted to share with other people. What's so cringe about that? That's actually pretty brave. Looking back, I realized that my fear of being cringe or any insecurities related to putting myself out there has cost me in time. I've wasted some time, like 30 minutes, because I stop and export midway just to go back and fix a tiny sound effect that doesn't really change the overall message of the video that much. And then I've also wasted up to days, months overthinking if a topic is good enough, when all I needed to do is just create a video, post, and get more feedback along the way. Alright, if there is only one thing I want you to remember from this video, it's this. If you have been thinking about sharing something, please just go for it. Even if it feels too niche, or if you feel like you don't have the perfect setup, or whatever else that's holding you back, please take a chance on yourself and see it through. I hope that this video gives you the nudge to create something that feels true to you, whether it's in video form, in a blog, through art, or any other format that you wanted to create. I'll see you in the next video in 2 weeks' time.